I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
And that is
Andy.
Andy. Andy, what band are you from?
The Art is Murder. It's a death metal band from Australia.
My art is freaking murder.
Yep.
Okay.
From America, which is where I'm at currently. So, you know.
Awesome. So we're the luckiest YouTubers on the face of the earth, I think.
Absolutely. No question about it.
Last week, we did Zen from Neabla Viscaris, who's from Australia, by the way.
I know, and they also have a member of their band that's Australian-American.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Tim?
The violin player guy.
Tim. Is that Tim? Yep.
Little citizen bands happening. And,
we're on a first name basis now. So this is our conversation series where we are pretty much every YouTube reaction channel's dream. We're actually getting to talk to the people that we're reviewing. It's ridiculous. So we got Zen, and now we've got Andy, and hopefully in the future we're gonna have Nergal.
Onward and upward, I say.
Are you familiar with that band, Behemoth?
I am familiar with Behemoth. We're on like the same record label. We have the same booking agent. And as I was telling you guys just before, they're actually playing in town tonight. So I could have gone for free, but I'm doing this instead.
Yeah. We feel very, very special.
So all you Thy Art is Murder fans, you know, a lot of times like people get disappointed by their heroes, you know, like, oh, they're not as cool as I thought.
Yeah.
This dude is cooler than you thought.
Right?
Not that cool. Like we played some festivals in Europe with Behemoth before. We've never done a tour with them. And someone in the band, CJ or Sean, walked in on Nergal going to the toilet or something, which was really funny. And the last 3 albums, we asked him to sing on the album, and every time he says no. So it's like a bit of a running joke. With the same people, right? The label and the agents. So we're like, this guy, can you ask Nergal for a favor? This guy, can you ask Nergal for a favor? And they all email him, and he's like, no.
Yeah, we strangely have had the same reception. I've been messaging him on Instagram. So a Polish internet magazine or whatever published an article about us.
No way.
Yeah.
Because it's the whole Christians are reviewing Nergal thing, right? And we were giving him good reviews because the metal is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so they published this big article about us yesterday. So I messaged Nergal on Instagram. I'm like, come on, bro. No response. I'm not.
Maybe in a week or something, you get a reply. Or you got to go after the other guys, you know, the label, the manager, whoever else.
Yeah. I'm not mad at him. I mean, good night. I mean, he's on tour with Slayer and Lamb of God right now, right?
I think Anthrax also. So, yep.
Yeah.
Indianapolis tonight. I think it's one of Slayer's final tours on planet Earth, so it's going crazy.
Terrible. I saw Slayer live one time with Metallica.
Did?
Yes, I did.
Wow, that must have been ridiculous.
Now I can die a happy man.
Yeah. You must be older than you look.
I am. You know, black don't crack.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to make that comment.
You're totally allowed to say that. Black don't crack, my friend.
He gave you a pass.
Yeah, you got a pass. There's a virtual pass that you can give people, and you have one.
Thank you.
Okay, so man, on a serious note, man, I just got to thank you, dude, for doing this. Not only for us, but so we discovered you guys because we're doing all these bands, and then all of a sudden people kept saying, Thy Art is Murder, Thy Art is Murder. Now I remember saying, oh, I mean, that's a cool name. You know what I mean? And I was like, I never really heard of these guys. And then Holy War started.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be terrible. I was like, this band, I have just a feeling it's not going to go good. And when it started, I was like, what? I was like, yes, I was so excited because I'm like, some people suggest stuff and sometimes you're like reviewing it and you want to give a good review because, you know, people like it, but I got to be honest. But this one was so easy because we like loved the metal, the vocals, it was good.
We had a rough time for the previous couple suggestions.
Wow. Yeah.
So we were itching for some good metal, and the song just blew us away.
Yep.
So go ahead.
No, thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoy it. We think that we're a bit of a joke, so.
No, the song was very heavy, very hard hitting. I've gotten the most feedback from the commentary on that song. So let's just jump into it. I know it's a little bit different for a format for an interview. Talk to me about who writes the lyrics for this band?
It's kind of like a team effort. We come up with concepts or topics or current events or previous events, and try and have like an idea for the song or the mood that the music brings, because the music comes first. And then we might take one of those ideas and think, how can we elevate this concept and either look at the problem transcendentally and break it down. What is it really, or what could it become, and make the song more about that. A lot of it is not really super direct, but then a lot of the lyrics are kind of direct. And then after we have this basic idea or metaphor or the device that we're going to leverage the lyric on, we'll work on it a lot more together. And then Will Putney, who's our producer, and I will go through with all the lyrics and how the patterning goes across the music, because that's a big part of it also, the syncopation. And then, flesh out all the lyrics and toss lots of them away and work on the rhymes and everything. And then it's up to CJ, who's like this lead actor who comes in and interprets the phrasing and the lyrics and then delivers it how he wants to,
Whoa.
Super low, super high, super scary, super emotional, and he's a really compelling actor in that regard. So that's how we do it.
Yeah, a lot of people were telling us you should have watched the video, because we just watched the lyric video, because our channel is really, really heavy on lyrics. But I felt like the way the song was written, that I almost didn't even need to watch the video to get where you were going.
Yeah.
That's one of the songs that's rather direct.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not hard to kind of see what we were aiming for there.
So tell me, so who was involved in writing that specific song?
So I specifically remember coming up with the idea for it, and the idea was, there was a lot of religious unrest around the world, as there has been in recent history. And I thought it was rather topical and straight to the point, and Holy War just seemed to sum up the name for the album. That's not to say that all of our songs are anti-religious or about religious events, but it's important to understand that all the songs are written from the context of someone who doesn't believe in a higher power. So that, the same way that a Christian person could write about their relationships, but it's always within the context of their belief system. So this song was obviously very direct. Not all the songs are about religious things, but they're from that context. And then it was the name for the album. And then I think it was Will, our producer's idea, is like, let's just go for it. Let's have a song that is Holy War as well, and have a title track, as we hadn't had a title track before. So, we did in 2010. But it became the title track, and we just really wanted to kind of go for it and target all the Abrahamic religions, as opposed to a lot of fans would think our stuff is just anti-Christian.
Right.
All comes from the same part of the world, the same God. So we're just like, let's go for all of them,
Yeah, I remember when I first started reacting, the Die for Torah line was shocking to me.
Completely shocking.
Because
I was like, you what?
Nobody ever goes after those people.
And it's kind of taboo. I mean, in heavy metal, we have this very strong position against Christianity. It's no longer taboo. It's kind of part of the territory. You think death metal band or black metal band, they hate Jesus. But there's not really been anyone going against, this anti-Semitic movement and the whatever. But in the context of making aggressive music, it was like, well, our problem isn't with God or with Jesus. It's just with the institution of religion. So that why should the word Allah be taboo, or why should talking about Judaism be taboo? And particularly with, you know, the current climate of the last 20 years, going after Islam is a little bit frowned upon. So we thought, let's just include all of them. That way it doesn't look like we're singling somebody out. We're just speaking out against, you know, organized Abrahamic religions around the world.
Well, what was interesting, well, I think that dichotomy is very important to make, and I'm just going to ask you another question just so that you can bring it out.
Yeah.
That there's a difference between, and I hate to almost even have to do this, but I'm going to do this. There's a difference between being against Judaism,
yes,
and being an anti-Semite, right?
Yeah.
Like, those are obviously not, you don't hate Jewish people.
No, I love Jewish people. Well, I love all people, but especially Jews because I have a lot of Jewish friends.
Right. Okay. And
friends, so
yeah. And you know, it was interesting, ironically enough, I don't know if this was going through your mind, but yesterday the song we reviewed was Call to Destruction by Nile.
Right.
Which is literally like a very anti-Islamic extremism, anti-Wahhabism type song. And it was just front to back. It wasn't as like hard-hitting as yours, but it was just front to back, you know, going right after ISIS type brand of Islam. So was there any part of you that was nervous in writing or thinking to yourself?
That's what I was thinking. I would have been afraid there was some danger element to doing something like that. Because people speak out against Christianity and say all kinds of stuff, but like I've heard of people, you know, making comic characters and getting hurt because of it when they're making fun of Islam.
Yeah. So I guess you're not allowed to like represent Allah or draw him or see him or have a picture of him or whatever. That's kind of frowned upon. And I personally wasn't scared because I think it's my right to speak about whatever I want to speak about. The label wasn't really scared. Some of the guys in the band were a little bit worried, and we did have a very unfortunate run of events where, thankfully, I mean, we were unscathed, but there was a lot of very close proximity to terrorist activity for us in the 2 years following this. So we were at two airports, a day before or a day after there was an ISIS attack. So the Brussels airport, we flew in the next day. There's just dudes with everywhere, like, and the same with Istanbul. We were going to fly out of Istanbul airport the day it got blown up, but we cancelled the show and moved to a different show. So had it have gone ahead. And then obviously there was the atrocity at the Bataclan, which we were scheduled to play at the beginning of 2016. That had happened sometime around November or December 2015, a few months after the album Holy War came out. We were supposed to play there, and a bunch of, you know, guys went in there and shot a whole bunch of people dead. So thankfully we weren't affected. It was a concern of everybody's. The label weren't too concerned. One thing we did do was what's the word? Not audit. Censor the album cover for the initial release. So as you may have seen, we've got a young child wearing like a white robe with a bomb strapped to his chest as the album cover, but we did that on the second pressing because there was a lot of blowback from the retail sector about whether or not they could put that into stores. And eventually there was no issue with it, apparently. So we did change the album cover to just the face with the cloak on it. And that's basically all that really happened, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that angle is important because people have short memories. It wasn't too long ago that I think it was a French newspaper that those guys got shot up, like killed.
Headbow or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, the French.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
French cartoonists, and they
killed something, but yeah, they represented Allah in a cartoon.
It was Muhammad, but
Muhammad,
yeah, I mean that. So like, people are putting their lives on the line for this stuff. I don't know if people. I mean, we have such short memories. Oh, that was fucked up, and then, you know, oh, what's over here, and people forget. So, do you feel a responsibility as an artist to kind of poke the eye of certain institutions and certain mindsets? Do you feel that as an artist, or is it just something that you're feeling in general?
I definitely see a responsibility to represent my own ideas and the ideas of the people in my band. The things that we believe in, and not that there's an institution of atheism. I mean, we don't have like a central congregation or anything, but it's important to have people representing all sides of the discussion, so that young people who may not be as informed or may be curious have people to look up to or draw inspiration from or be inspired by to go and do more of their own research. Definitely feel a strong responsibility in that regard. And also representing and discussing through our art, if you want to call it that, problems that we see in the world. So not things that we necessarily believe, but things that, well, I mean, we believe them to be true because they are objectively, and we see them, and we want to talk about those kinds of topics also.
Yeah, that's it seems we just saw and you made Sori cry. We just saw the lyric video to They Will Know Another.
Oh, that's a heart wrencher, that one.
Ugh.
And no, I mean you're just barraged with these images that I was talking, we were listening to some song and it was talking about the witch trials, and I was just like, we need to stop and talk about the fact that this actually happened to other human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, big time.
And so like we're inundated with all these images and things like that. So for you guys to like put them all together, the trauma, the shared trauma, that 5 minutes was, go into that song. Like I said, we're a lyric heavy channel, but I just feel like there are so many things that you were saying in that song. What I got from the song was the old school ways of doing things that we've all inherited have now kind of conspired together. That's basically fucked the world over in an almost irreversible way.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of calling them into account and saying, look at this, because I got to watch my kids die, whether it be global warming, whether it's a sarin attack, whether it's, I talked about it in the Holy War video where we went to war with Iraq and killed 1 million civilians. And so now it's like calling these guys and saying, you're going to watch my kids die because I have to watch it die. And then there's that line of, I'm not afraid of dying, I'm afraid of surviving to have to watch it.
Be able to see all of that that's going on. But then at the end of the song, it seemed like that then we were the ones that were being called into account, like for the next generation.
Absolutely. I think every previous generation influences the subsequent one. I mean, that's just the nature of reproduction and human development and growth. The song's directly inspired by my experience in 2015 of having a child. So I have a little daughter who's 2.5 now. And so you always think about these things, but then it makes it immediately and directly relatable that every choice that you make in the way that you live your life day to day directly affects the result that they get, in the way that the food that you feed them, the education you provide them, there are many other choices with very complex tangents that run away from them that are leading to the result that they have to either enjoy or, at this point, basically deal with. A lot of economic disparity as we move forward, where the classes are just going like this. In Australia in particular, there's a massive, I wouldn't say housing crisis, but it's very difficult for anyone from my generation or younger to afford housing, because so many people from generations before us have just purchased all the property that's there and just jacked up the prices for rent to make it so, you can afford to rent, but you won't be able to afford to save a down payment and then make a mortgage repayment. So, you're talking about the average rent in a major city in Australia is like $4,000 a month. It's crazy. Americans pay like 33% of their income to their accommodation. And in Australia, it's like 50 to 60% of their income.
Wow.
That's crazy.
This is modern day serfdom, basically.
Yeah, it's wild. And so, I mean, that comes into it also, because it was just all the different feelings that I had about what was I contributing towards for my daughter's future. So, I mean, and it's inspired by so many different movements. what kind of car do you drive? What kind of fuel is it operated on? What is your diet composed of? What kind of industry do you support? What kind of, supporting ethically farmed goods, whether you're vegan, vegetarian, or just don't eat meat 3 times a day, 7 days a week, like all of these very small choices that we make every day times by 7.3 billion entities on Earth. I mean, you think if all those people didn't eat meat for one day, and I'm not a vegan, but I'm very sympathetic to that movement,
Mm-hmm.
didn't eat meat for one day, what effect would that have on the global, livestock industry? And if everyone didn't drive their car for one day, what's that going to do to fuel prices? What's that going to do to these idiots in Congress that are suppressing renewable energy sources and saying, let's get more oil and keep burning it as fast as we can, and we'll figure it out later. It's like all those small things that everyone can do will help to make a better tomorrow for our children and their children. And at this point, I mean, I'm a little bit of a nihilist kind of fatalist guy. I think we're at the tipping point, or we're a little bit past it, where I'm not going to live long enough to know, thankfully. And that's what the line, I'm not afraid to die, I'm afraid I'll survive, is dying would be much easier for me than for me to live on and see what kind of pain and suffering there will be for children in the future, because that kind of sucks.
And there's already so much now.
Oh, in incredible amounts.
Yeah, I generally don't look at stuff like that because it's so upsetting. I mean, we support a couple kids overseas to get them food through Compassion International and get them schooling and stuff, but it's 3 kids. I mean, there's so many kids. It's like, feels like 3 is like, you're not doing anything. It's a terrible feeling. And then seeing the pictures in those videos is just heart-wrenching to see the children and the conditions that they're in. And I think, like I said, I don't generally look at it because it's so like, I can't do anything about it. And I wonder if all of us looked at that more, like how many people could be supporting a child? Like if everybody supported at least one child, like where would we be, and what would, or like you're saying, even things that we can do in recycling, or choosing to not like when you watch those videos of how they treat animals when they're putting them out there for us to eat, like all the process that goes through, and the abuse that they even put the animals through, it's disgusting and terrible. And that's what I liked about the video, was it brought both, because sometimes people are so heavy on the animal side that they forget about the children. But this one seemed like it was balancing all of it, and it like was bringing in the environment. And I don't know what that big thing was in the video, if it was a whale or something, but like it was like just bringing everything in and saying like, we have to take care of all of it. It's funny because there's a verse in the Bible that actually says, like part of the people that are going to be in trouble at the end of everything is that the people that didn't take care of the earth, which is surprising.
Oh yeah, destroying the destroyers of the earth is we have a hard time in our camp because for whatever strange reason, when you talk about the environment, when you talk about stewarding the environment and making it so that, our kids aren't, imbibing, fossil fuels for breakfast when they go for their morning run, you always get this kind of strange,
yeah, like it's like, you're like,
you're one of those liberals, and it's like, well, huh? Yeah. So there's, and then, they'll say like, well, Revelation says God's going to destroy everything. And, I said, yeah. And one of the reasons he's going to destroy everything, because there's destroyers of the earth. It says the time has come to judge the wicked and for destroying the destroyers of the earth. But there's this like strange, like, and, we're pretty big on self-awareness and criticizing our own camp. There just seems to be this strange lack of understanding that the only planet that we're on, whatever your belief system is the freaking earth. And so if we irreversibly fuck up the earth.
I want to touch on that issue a little bit because it's one of my main gripes with organized religions around the world. Not guys, but there's a very interesting causation and correlation between, and in the last, depending on who you are, maybe for the last 200 years, Republicans, Christians,
sure,
rednecks, like, and so fundamental Christian institutions, it's almost like there's this thought crime suppression built into it. Like as soon as you think about something evil, you're a sinner, and I think that that's something that needs to not happen, so that we can have intelligent discussion and debate and educate these people. And so, I mean, that's where it's partly causation, partly correlation. Like some of these people in these really fundamental church groups are so suppressed from thinking freely that they're going to continue to operate like that. And we see it with like the Mormon church, and you fear to leave your family for thinking differently to the way that you've been brought up. So it kind of just continues progeniting itself. And also there's just, it could be correlation that some people, I mean, particularly in the third world, don't have access to education, and the only education that they get is provided through the goodwill of religious organizations, which is what we see in Africa nowadays. So it's just, it's an observation of mine. It does bother me. You guys look like you can kind of talk about these sorts of things. So
so we're a part of the, I mean, to be very, very specific, sort of we came out of, let me say it that way. And whenever I talk about religion, I never did, we were talking about the Crusades yesterday, and I never distance myself from that, because I just feel like it's intellectually dishonest, right? Like they're Christians. They didn't practice the religion the way that I look at the Bible and say it should be interpreted, but I'm not going to distance myself from them to try to claim some moral superiority, right? I mean,
it doesn't help anybody to do that, because it just makes it look like you're not actually saying wrong is wrong. Like,
it's our camp, those are our brothers, and we're gonna go down with the ship. But so there's the sort of Republican propaganda machine, right? Which is then correlated with the evangelical voting bloc, which is extremely powerful.
Very powerful.
Because there is a sort of conglomerance of religio/racial, I mean, just to be honest, groups within that substructure. So, for example, a guy like Trump doesn't get elected without evangelical help. It just doesn't happen, right? And so these guys are like playing off of each other to the point where it has now metastasized to where if you are a real evangelical, you have to vote Republican.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when you're talking about thought crime, on the one hand, our presupposition is that everybody sucks to some degree. Everybody's a sinner.
Oh, good.
You're
Oh, good.
yeah. So you're not bad. You're not bad because you have an evil thought. You're an evil thought. You have an evil thought because you're bad, right? That's the idea, right? So everybody sucks. Everybody's bad. But what happens within evangelicalism is the good news is supposed to be that, God is quick to forgive. He overlooks everything. If you truly want an actual relationship with him. And he basically says, just like you have a kid, right? Your kid screws up. You're not gonna disown her. You're gonna teach her, from your perspective, what the right thing to do is. Share with your friends. You're gonna teach her not to be a selfish, proto-capitalist. You're gonna tell her to, just break off the Kit Kat bar and share, right? And so that's kind of our conception of God, is that he's like a father, and that everybody has, progressions that they need to make in enlightenment and consciousness and all that. But what's happened with evangelicalism, and the Bible has a ton of criticisms for what happens when religion and government sort of combine with each other. And the last book of the Bible kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen the image of the whore riding the beast. Right? So what that means is that's what happens when religion basically sells its soul to a political entity. Yeah. So the beast is sort of these political powers that are kind of like ravaging the earth and just fucking everything up. And then the whore is what happens when religion attaches itself to that in order to further their agenda. Because to whatever degree you do that, you've just sold yourself like a prostitute.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could argue that the Republicans are kind of pushing that they're selling themselves to the Christian agenda or the evangelical agenda also. So
Well, right, there's that symbiosis, right?
Mhm.
You're absolutely right. And you see that in sort of, you know, Second Temple Judaism in Rome and all that. It's a different discussion. But yeah, I mean, if we knew our history, um, if the bad guys in the New Testament are religious people who got in bed with the government, like those are the bad guys. The people that crucified Jesus, seriously, are religious people that pulled the levers of the government to then go and kill Jesus, basically.
Yep.
And so there's not a lot of self-awareness right now within evangelicalism to say, wait a second, like we're repeating the
yeah, a lot of those mega churches are laughing all the way to the bank, you know. So I don't know that they care that much.
well, yeah, that's part of it. So yeah, I agree with you. The minute that you step out of you know, the narrative that you're supposed to have, especially in a political sense, and you know, some things aren't political to me. Like, for example, if we don't take care of our environment,
Yes.
people are legit gonna die. That's not politics.
That's just basic reality.
Right?
If you no longer have a place to exist in, then you don't exist.
Well, so you know, I've traveled around across the Northeast all growing up, right? And the air quality in New York City is definitely different from the air quality in other states. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a strange thing where you have empirical data that says, look, you know, and you know, we're not allowed to think, much less speak those thoughts. But yeah.
So, and then we have the suppression of discussing these ideas. We have Trump suppressing the EPA, much in the same way that I see a lot of religious institutions suppressing free thought, particularly in the young.
So let me push back on you a little bit. So we were watching her introduction. Are you familiar with Jordan Peterson?
Yes.
So Sori and I are watching this video about Jordan Peterson, and he's speaking at this college, and these sort of proto-fascist liberals start screaming him down and wouldn't let him talk. And I don't know about Australia. I don't know if you've noticed it in the States, but there is a real concerted effort to shut down any speech that's contra leftist ideology, whether it be literally trying to shut people down or trying to pin labels on people such that you're sort of intimidated into silence, which from my perspective is what drove what I call Trumpism. What's your take on that? Have you noticed that? Do you see that?
Absolutely. We call this movement the regressive left, where they've gone so far left, they're coming back around the world and they're idiots. You know, it's driven by...
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Collect yourself.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I didn't get it until he did the...
We come back idiots. Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry, collect yourself, woman.
They're really, it's over censorship. I support the right to free speech, no matter who you are. I mean, obviously, in our world or some community, they say if you see a Nazi, punch him in the face, and I'm all for it. People that are idiots and thoughtlessly destructive idiots, punch them in the face. Maybe I don't know. Put them in jail. Do something real bad to them. But we should be allowed to debate these people. We should be allowed to have conversations with these people. And it's important. I mean, you're right in saying that this is what created Trump. The regressive left became so overly politically correct that it created this need for these people that felt so disenfranchised. They may be ignorant. They may be less educated. They might just culturally, they're from the South, they're from the Bible Belt. They're not going to kill a gay person. They just don't know any better. And so when all these people are saying that you're horrible and you're a piece of shit, they go, well, I don't think that I am. And you all hate me, so I'm going to go with this Trump guy.
Right.
And it's really kind of divided the floor, and there's nothing really in the center anymore. Ben Shapiro is like another intellectual, young conservative also. There's a lot of great points. And he's been lobbied out of speaking and has to rock up to, UC Berkeley with $60,000 worth of security to have a provide a lecture. A lot of problems with that guy anyway. He kind of just talks over people and steamrolls them. But he has a lot of good points, and they should be heard, and we should discuss them. Because if we become too liberal, then, all it takes is one bad egg to get in there, and then we're going to have some crazy socialist dictatorship. So we do need to have both sides of the discussion. And I would vote left. I'm a liberal person, but I think we need both sides. I mean, everyone has conservative principles or values inside themselves anyway. Maybe not applicable to politics, but you might not want to take your clothes off at the beach, and you might want to go to the nudist beach. He's more liberal. You're more conservative. He might be a Republican. So, we have this backwards and forwards between conservatism and liberalism in everybody. So we should discuss everything with both sides. Otherwise, it's not a conversation.
Yeah, I feel like people are driven by fear. And so I think that, when we talk about a religious context, I think the reason that they frown upon a lot of questions is because they're afraid that the questions are going to somehow destabilize what they've found as their foundation. And then when I saw the Jordan Peterson thing, where these college students that looked very free thinking, in my opinion, were yelling with speakers so he couldn't be heard, I thought, are you afraid of what he's going to say? Because if what he's saying is truly foolishness, then you should let him shout it from the rooftops and let everybody deem him a fool. But are you afraid that what he's saying actually makes sense and people will go over onto his side, and that's what you don't want? Then you're trying to control people because you yourself are not rooted in your beliefs.
Absolutely. And maybe they're, insecure about their position or the position of their side,
Yeah. And so instead of just saying, hey, I'm insecure about my position and let me hear new ideas to see, instead they're going to drown out somebody's voice. I'd
see it that let them speak. And if the idiot go with that person, if their position is truly stupid, then so be it. But at least allow them the platform to have a regulated conversation or debate.
Yeah.
By doing that, you're just lowering the whole talk about everything, and now we have Trump. So,
well, no, really, because what happens is, I hope somebody from the regressive left gets the news flash that the more you do that, the more you play into the hands of these far right people.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You take away their voice or their platform, they're going to be even more disenfranchised, and they're going to do more stupid things.
Yeah, it plays into the narrative of, you got all these white folks who, even though they're a super majority in the country, feel that they are being oppressed because you string together a couple of these clips of Ben Shapiro having to come in with the with the SWAT team and Jordan Peterson getting shouted down, and it's always a white male that's getting shouted down and shut down, right? And so they are seeing enough of these clips, and they don't, like you said, they don't have the broadness of mind to say, let's pull back and see what's actually happening here. It plays right into the narrative, and here you go, Trump 2020.
Yeah, it's back to that punch a Nazi in the face. Not everyone's a hateful Nazi.
Yeah.
They're allowed to have an opposing opinion.
Yeah, I remember we were on a podcast, and I brought up the punch a Nazi in the face thing. And I said, no, we can't punch them in the face. This is America. They have free speech.
Yeah.
Just destroy them in the marketplace of ideas.
Yeah, and that I just think the whole virality of these videos of people punching a Nazi, whatever Nazis there are just going to get a kick out of it.
Right.
So,
Tell me, so I sent you a bunch of questions. Tell me your overarching life philosophy, if you have one, or if you made one up, or what.
If I have one or I made one up, work hard. It gives you a sense of purpose outside of believing in a higher power. There's a great sushi chef from Japan, Jiro, who says, find your occupation or what you love and work very hard every day at it. Be repetitive, because routine will help master your trade or the skills of what you want to do. Never complain about your occupation. And I don't mean what you get paid for, but what you choose to love and do every day. And that's the key to being regarded honorably. So, to just working super hard, always doing the right thing. I mean, as much as you can, and try to be honest with yourself and learn from your mistakes. That's about it. And then when I die, I'll go in the ground, and that's it. So, it's a bit of a throwaway.
I asked you about how hard on the concept of hard work. How hard is it really to make it in the music industry?
That's an interesting question, and it is what drew me to music in the regard that with most things in your life, if you are very good at it, you will earn a living, have a job, and if you're very, very good at it, rise to the top and become incredibly successful. Music is interesting in that some of the best musicians on the planet don't get paid to play music or for writing music. They just sit at home and do nothing. And that's where the luck and the challenge comes into it. I mean, in terms of having this synergy with other individuals, other creatives that you write music together. Maybe if you take one of those components out, and we're talking about synergy, like the 1 + 1 = 3. If you take, one of those things away, it might just be one. It might not be the two, and you really do need those things to come together. And that's just a right time and place thing, which is what's very fascinating about our existence is,
Yeah.
Who knows what you're going to get dealt, and that's just the luck of the draw. And so it forces a lot of people, I mean, at least in my experience, who I've met doing what I do for a living, it's this fantasy draw card that brings us into this way of living that maybe tomorrow it won't be there. Whereas if I worked at the factory, probably going to be there until I'm 65, and then I'll get my 401k or whatever and tap out. What we do that every day is luck. Maybe everyone will hate our style of music next year because it's not trendy, or maybe because another style of music is trendy. Maybe the songs that we really like will be shit. Like maybe our brains just go, this shit music is good, so we're going to make shit music. Like, there's so many different components, and then also where you come from in the world. Coming from Australia, there's a lot more financial obstacle in establishing yourself as a touring business, because playing music eventually becomes a business if you want to scale it as such. So there's all these different hurdles, logistically, financially, creatively, that are totally independent of just how hard you work at playing music. Whereas if I just work really hard at being a lawyer, I'm going to be a really good lawyer. I don't really have that much luck.
Yeah. Well, we kind of noticed the same thing with YouTube at some level.
Yeah.
Yep. We shot the first video we shot was just a crappy video. It was, look here, the lighting was terrible, and we reviewed a Slipknot song, and then we got 4,000 views on the thing, and now here we are talking to you, right? And there are other people that are working their asses off,
right?
Much better looking, well, not than you, but very I lucked out with that. But we're extremely talented people that, the algorithm, whatever, but then at the same time, we do work hard though. We have made the investments in, once we started taking it seriously.
Also probably working really hard, and maybe nothing ever comes. Maybe one day something will. But that's why you're doing it, because you want to find out what makes it work, what makes it not work. Can I remove that? And there's not always a method to the madness, which is also really fun, because sure things in life, so I believe in limited existence, not eternal existence.
Right.
That's what makes it so much more fun for me, having this short lifespan, because if it's a sure thing, then it's still going to be exciting. I'm not shitting on other people's way of living. That works for them, and I respect that. But for me, I'm like, well, I'll become a lawyer, and then I'll work at a law firm and rise through the ranks, and and then I'll have lots of money and I'll buy a house and then I'll retire. I might have no money and be busking on the street tomorrow. So that's more exciting.
So
wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to like, when you're making your music, do you find it hard to decide, like, do you ever feel like you have to balance what you like and what's important to you and then what your fans are going to like? Like, sometimes I feel like that even with our channel, like, before, like, there was a song that I thought it was trash, and like I was like, and I didn't want to say exactly how I felt about it because I didn't want to disappoint people or make people be like, oh, I don't like that. But then, like, I had to be like true to myself, and so in the next video I was like very honest about the one that I was kind of on, and I was like, I didn't like it. I just thought it was boring, you know.
It was a video before your video.
Which made it so that way when I listened to yours, I was like even more thrilled because I'm like, good, I can be honest and it's a good reaction. But do you ever feel like you have to balance that? Like,
well, I mean, consciously, not really, because I feel with most things in life, being genuine and as creative as you are able to be independently trumps all. You might not be, you know, you hear about these overnight successes 30 years in the making. Like, they did their thing and eventually became something because they were always true to what they did. Maybe if they were chasing the trends every year, then they would never have had that success. They would have always been a day late and a buck short.
Right.
So that being said, subconsciously, I mean, creatively or otherwise, I imagine that it would be impossible to say that we don't have some sort of influence because we make songs. So we like other songs which are influencing us to make songs that we like, and inevitably there'll be similar. I mean, they all have distorted guitars, screaming vocals, and drums and blast beats. Maybe they have an intro like that one did, or maybe they have a chorus like that one did. You know, there are going to be things that are similar because that's what we like, and we don't want to make something we don't like.
Right.
So, you know, we're working inside of that kind of paradigm and construct that is what death metal is. But no, I don't feel that we really deliberately try to appease the fans. You know,
I figured you didn't when I heard your song.
I mean, people sit around and we'd be like, oh, we need like a bit like this song because that'll make kids go crazy. But what we're gonna be like, we just make something that we like and we go, now we've got the bit from that makes the kids go crazy, you know. So in that regard, that's about as heavy as that living in that construct gets for us.
So how did you, I remember, because, you know, we try so hard to engage people in comments, and I mean, it's gotten really, really big, really, really fast. So we miss so much. But I remember scrolling through the comments of your video, and then I saw, I think it was you, somebody was asking for They'll Know Another. And then was it you who said, yeah, I'd like to hear them review that. Vin and Sori are fantastic.
Yeah. So like I run all of the different social media things. So my phone gets, I don't know, a couple thousand notifications a day. It dies. I have to get a new phone every year because the life cycle of the battery decays so quickly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're nobody, and it's just constant.
It's almost like your phone doesn't turn black, like it doesn't shut down because it's constantly getting notifications.
Oh yeah. So our singer quit the band at the end of 2015. He was having like a rough go at life and came back at the beginning of 2017. And the day that I posted about him leaving and you know, his need for privacy and to do what he needed to do with his life, my phone got so many notifications, it died. It just wouldn't turn on. It went black.
Yeah.
Frozen. And then when he came back to the band, it did the same thing. So,
I bet.
But yeah, so that would have been me most likely replying to something because I see everything.
Well, yeah, it said thy art, and I couldn't believe it was any of you guys. And I said, who is this? And you said, this is the band. And I told the story. I'm like, yo, the guy from Thy Art is Murder. Just listen to him. Get it out. Ah!
I was like, it was hard for me to believe.
Yeah, she's like,
so
she's like, really, Vin? Take your medicine.
Because people always stop that.
That's what you told me.
Yeah, I did not.
Tell the
You
people
don't
the
even
truth.
take medicine, you weirdo.
I don't
No,
think
I didn't believe it because randomly there'll be like people and their names are like famous people's names and they have a picture of the famous person, but it's not the person. But then there was like a little icon. Yeah. And I'm like, Vin doesn't usually screw stuff like that up. Like he doesn't just say something and it's not there. Man. So I'm like, well, how do you know? And then he showed me the little music thing beside it. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I'm telling you,
I'm like, maybe we'll get an interview.
I said, it's him. So I sent you the little thing. So tell me, how did you find the video?
So it kind of went viral, I guess. And I don't know, it was a YouTube link on Facebook. And I personally have been tagged in it probably 100 times. And then the band also has probably been tagged in it hundreds of times. So the me having this thing, just going like, who the hell is Vin and Sori? Like, I'm like, can people stop tagging me in this? And it eventually, like, it had been so, I mean, this happens with a lot of stuff, you know, like memes and whatever. Our singer's real famous for being like a subject of memes. So I'm getting these notifications all the time. And then eventually I was like, okay, look, I'm going to watch the video. Like, let's see what it's all about. And it was actually really good.
So it was the quantity of times that people were pinning you?
Yeah. Combined with the fact that I pressed play and it wasn't shit, so because otherwise I would have just been like block.
We appreciate that.
Report video.
Spam. Yeah, I think that happened. No, I just
I can make that. Yeah, I do all of that stuff too.
So what was good? So did you see the title, Christians React? We kind of try to be cheap and provocative with the title, but
I like that, but I'd seen it so many times, and then eventually I just caved in. I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna watch the Christians react the whole.
Watch the Christians.
So did you have any sort of preconceived notions of how we were going to react to the song, or what?
I thought that you might like it. You look like a happy couple of people. You know, it's a good song. It's you know, I hope you watched the actual music video because that's pretty cool also.
We haven't yet.
Well,
did you?
I have. Yeah,
I haven't.
I watched it later.
I'm making it too in Germany like 3 or 4 years ago, but 3 years ago. So yeah.
You're gonna cry again.
Oh gosh.
I didn't know what you would say about it, and then you started talking about a few of the concepts in the lyrics. I was like, this guy is actually, you know, pretty clued on to some of the things, because we put a lot of, you know, different things that maybe like takes like a whole lot of research to create one line.
Yeah.
And people might not get it. And then you guys just started covering a lot of those topics. I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool, and also very informative, and not really pushing any agenda, like just discussing like objective things about the clip. And obviously you're just doing it from your position as a Christian person, talking about a song written by a person that's not a Christian. And that's good. I thought that was it. It's exactly the kind of conversations that people need to be having, and not just trying to shoot the other person down all the time. I don't see the point in that.
Yeah. Hey, man, you've been extremely generous with your time. I just want to do a lightning round of some questions from our audience.
Okay, wait, let me start because I don't want to forget mine.
Okay, go for it.
People have been asking over and over. They want to know what your favorite band is that you like to listen to, like now, currently in your life.
Today, it's Parkway Drive.
Oh, no way.
So they put out a new album on May the 4th. Which is funny because the May the 4th be with you. Winston, the singer, all the dudes in that band are good friends of mine. He's like a super big Star Wars nerd. So I was like, I wonder if he like made them put the album out on May the 4th. But it's really good. I've been listening to it in the car like all day for the last week. And it's annoying to how good it is.
Wishing Wells, is that the song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We reviewed that a couple days ago. So they're from Australia. What the hell is going on with metal in Australia, man? You guys are tearing it up right now.
I think, and I've said this before, it's just that because it's so hard to get out of Australia, you got to pay flights, working visas, freight, like all of this stuff to get your equipment overseas. That yes, you have to be really good and try really hard to save up the money to get out. And then also it's this thing where the rest of the world only sees our best because that's the only thing that can get out. So you guys think we have lots of shitty bands. Let me assure you, we have as many shitty bands as the rest of the world. It's just that you don't ever get to see them.
That makes complete sense.
Right down there underneath the equator.
This guy's funny, huh? All right, so this is Jason Young. He's a major. He's the biggest Die Art fan. He's actually the one that suggested the video. He said, "Dear Desolation." I'm assuming that's a name of one of your records.
The newest one, yeah.
Feels like a much more focused album musically. It feels like you've trimmed some of the fat from your previous sound. It definitely feels like a natural evolution, as you still have the signature Thy Art is Murder sound. I was curious if this was a conscious move on your part or if it just naturally emerged as you were writing it. And if it was conscious, was there any particular catalyst to that shift?
There was no catalyst. We're always trying to do something a little bit different. Some bands really kind of try to do this hard left turn, and we're more about, if we only change less than 5 things that we do on a record, then we are better able to quantify to ourselves what contributed the change. Like, if we change 100 things and then the album did really bad, we'd go, oh, well, now we've got to look at 100 things. Or if it did really good, we'd go, well, we still have 100 things. If we only do a few, it's a lot easier for us to go, oh, we did this and we like the songs better and everyone else also liked them better, so we'll do more of that, maybe. But in terms of creating the raw product that goes into the songs, like molding bricks to build a house, you have lines, concepts for like topics, riffs, breakdowns, drum beats and all that. That's never kind of audited by ourselves or censored. That just comes in as raw product, brain into computer. Refining and arranging the songs, we do make conscious decisions, but they aren't decisions like, we need to make it more like this. They're more these, so constraints are engines that drive creativity and inspiration, right? Because you have less things, so you have to be more creative.
Right.
So we would say, when we have this choice to make in a song, which you always have, should it do this or should it do that? On this album, let's always just do this. So if we think that we need to have a breakdown in a song and we're unsure, which happens all the time because they're heavy and they're fun. In the past, we might be like, oh, I don't know, breakdown, maybe another different kind of bit. On this one, we're like, don't do a breakdown. That's the rule. So we'd be like, well, only if we could, if it was the only thing that makes sense, then that's what we'd do. So like little choices like that. If in the past, we would have over 10 guitar layers, all this ambience and whatnot. We would say on this album, pick 3, don't do 10 and make a wall of sound. And as a result, a lot of people actually said it was the most ambient record that we've made, despite it having the least amount of tracks recorded. I think that says a lot about giving space sonically to those extra parts so that more of your attention can be devoted to it as opposed to just being assaulted on all fronts. So those are the choices that we made.
Yeah, I mean, how much of that, like when you talk about 10 layers versus 3, is like you're an artist, and so your brain is trained to appreciate those 10 things simultaneously, whereas I'm just a kid who likes metal, man, and my brain isn't wired to ingest 10 of those things simultaneously.
Also, I feel like it kind of defers decision making, which maybe is what made this song better or made people think it was a more confident album, because we were actively choosing. Whereas before we'd say, oh, we have so many layers, they all sound good, we'll just put more of them in there and keep cramming them in. Whereas this one was like, no, it's not good enough, it's not necessary, and we're choosing the parts more deliberately.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is Jeremy Gregory. His question is, do you have any goals you still seek as a musician?
Well, I don't know. How long's a piece of string? But every goal that you attain, there's always another one. That's not to say never be satisfied or feel proud of what you've done. but try to reach far, and that's what life is. Until you die, like, try and do cool stuff.
What's your next goal?
Going back to you asked me this question ages ago, like, what's my mantra in life? I think maybe it's on one of my social media bios or whatever. Do cool shit. Just try and do cool shit. That's all I'm trying to do. And if it's cool, you'll have fun and feel rewarded and validated. So, 10 years ago, it was join a band or learn how to play power chord. And then it was like, go on a tour, go on a better tour, make an album. And so, for me now, I'd say that the one goal or theme is to just continue honing our craft and streamlining our band and making it the best band that it can be. That's always the goal. So every day I wake up and that's what I try to do.
Awesome.
And then Christopher Culp says 5 past or present bands that would love to open for or headline with.
For Behemoth, Decapitated, which we did. I don't know. All the other guys in the band really love Deftones. They'd love to tour with Deftones. I'd love to go on tour with Slipknot because it'd be sick. And Metallica, I guess, because even if they paid us like 0.1% of how much money they make, we'd still be rich.
It's ridiculous. They get guys like Scrooge McDuck, he swims in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, wow. This is cool. This is cool. We did it again.
Yes.
Thank you so much, man. I'll let you have the last word. Say what you want to say to your fans, man, because I'll tell you what, those guys love. That's actually another question. How does it feel as a musician when your fans are like particularly rabid in their devotion to you guys? How does that feel?
It feels really good. We work super, super hard doing what we do, and to feel the energy coming back from those people, whether it's buying a t-shirt. I mean, the most rewarding one is just seeing them in the crowd going crazy. That's primarily what it's about. We create this music and you react, and we create more and you react. That's the most rewarding thing. That, not to say that we deserve it more than other people, but that's that payoff that I was talking about earlier, the luck. You work so hard, and maybe some dudes make heaps of money, some dudes make no money. But if you're making no money and 1,000 people are going crazy, then what does it even matter? So it's super grateful.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. You got any last words?
Thanks for doing this with us. Like, we're blown away every time like somebody's like, yeah, I'll do an interview with you guys. So
thanks for having me. I think it's good to have progressive religious people talking to progressive non-religious people about anything. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to have a discussion or talk about music or lyrics or ideas. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I think the moral of the story is, folks, is don't be one of these regressive leftists or rightists or Christianists or whatever.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, my buddy keeps saying Christianists, Mark.
Yeah.
He's a Christian too, but he uses
a Christianist.
Yeah, he's a Christian. The Christianists have struck again when Trump. We'll talk about that offline.
What?
Funny thing. So I do this, right? And some guy goes, "This guy's a Christian, and he threw up the devil sign." Is that the one where he said?
Yeah, they said that about me too.
Yeah, and that proves that we're in the Illuminati.
Yeah, the Illuminati. Illuminati confirmed.
Illuminati confirmed. We're gonna have some shirts out that say Illuminati confirmed. Only our folks will know what it is. All right, Vin out.
Sori out.
Marsh out. See you later.